Long before paved roads reached the forests of eastern Nigeria, there stood a quiet village called Umudara, a place where morning smelled of roasted yam and palm oil, where women balanced woven baskets on their heads, and children chased goats between mud houses decorated with white chalk symbols. Life in Umudara was simple, predictable. But in this peaceful village lived a young woman many people did not understand. Her name was Adaeze. She was 22 years old, tall and slender, with thoughtful eyes that seemed to notice things others ignored. Adaeze was known for two things: her quiet nature and her unusual knowledge of herbs. While other young women walked to the river to laugh and gossip, Adaeze walked alone into the forest, every morning with a woven basket in her hands. She gathered leaves, roots, and bark. Her grandmother had taught her long ago. "Nature speaks," the old woman used to say. "If you listen carefully, it tells you how to heal." And Adaeze listened. When a child had a fever, she prepared bitter leaf tea. When hunters returned from the forest with infected wounds, she crushed herbs and wrapped them carefully. Many villagers secretly came to her hut at night for help, but during the day, they pretended she did not exist. Because in Umudara, knowledge that people did not understand was dangerous. One evening, as Adaeze returned from the forest, her childhood friend Chika met her along the narrow path. His face looked troubled. "Adaeze," he said quietly, "people are talking again." She sighed softly. "They always talk." But Chika shook his head. "No, this time it is worse." In the village square, elders had begun whispering under the great iroko tree. "Why does that girl always walk alone in the forest? Why do strange herbs hang outside her hut? And why," one elder muttered, "do people return healed after visiting her?" In many minds, the answer became simple: witchcraft. The rumors spread like wildfire, and deep inside Adaeze's chest, fear slowly began to grow. The real trouble began the night the chief's son fell ill. Young Obina was only 10 years old, but suddenly his body burned with fever. His skin felt like fire, and nothing the village healers tried seemed to help. Inside his compound, Chief Okafor paced anxiously. "Do something," he shouted. The village healer shook his head slowly. "I have tried everything." Then someone whispered a name: Adaeze. The chief's face hardened. "That girl?" But Obina's breathing was growing weaker. Desperate, the boy's mother ran through the night to Adaeze's hut. She collapsed to her knees. "Please, save my son." Adaeze did not hesitate. She crushed bark, mixed bitter leaves, and prepared a healing drink. By morning, the fever was gone. Obina survived. But instead of gratitude, something darker began to spread. In the village square, men gathered again beneath the iroko tree. One elder leaned forward. "Have you noticed something?" Another nodded slowly. She knew exactly how to cure the sickness. A third man spoke quietly. And how would she know that unless she caused it? The whispers turned into accusations. Soon the entire village surrounded Adaeze's hut. Chief Okafor stepped forward. "You pretend to heal," he said coldly, "but everyone knows the truth." Adaeze's voice trembled. "I only use herbs. My grandmother taught me." "Silence," someone shouted. A woman screamed from the crowd. "My chickens died last week." Another man yelled, "My crops failed." Fear turned into rage, and then the word exploded across the crowd. "Witch!" They dragged Adaeze to the center of the village. A pile of firewood had already been prepared. Chika pushed through the crowd. "Stop! She saved the chief's son!" But Chief Okafor's face was dark. "Or maybe," he said slowly, "she cursed him first."
Adaeze fell to her knees. "I have done nothing wrong." The flames were lit. Smoke curled into the sky. And just as the fire began to grow, thunder roared across the heavens. Dark clouds swallowed the sky. Then rain began to fall. Not gentle rain, but a violent storm. Within moments, the fire died beneath the pouring water. The villagers froze in fear. Some whispered nervously, "She called the storm." But Chief Okafor raised his hand. "Exile her. Let the forest keep her." And just like that, Adaeze was banished from Umudara forever.
For many months, Adaeze wandered alone. She lived deep in the forest where towering trees blocked the sunlight. At night, she cried beside small fires. "Why?" she whispered to the darkness. But slowly, the forest became her teacher. She studied plants her grandmother had never shown her, roots that cooled fever, leaves that stopped poison, bark that healed wounds overnight. One day, she met an old traveling healer named Mama Nkiru. The woman watched quietly as Adaeze treated an injured hunter. Afterward, she nodded. "You have a gift." Adaeze shook her head sadly. "My people called it a curse." The old woman smiled gently. "Then your people are blind." For 2 years, Adaeze traveled beside Mama Nkiru. She learned deeper healing methods, patience, wisdom, and something even more powerful, forgiveness. One evening, Mama Nkiru told her something she would never forget. "A heart that carries bitterness cannot carry healing." Years passed. Adaeze grew stronger, wiser, and the frightened girl from Umudara slowly became something greater. Then, one terrible year, a deadly sickness struck Umudara. Children collapsed with fever. Farmers became weak. Even Chief Okafor himself fell ill. Nothing worked. Not sacrifices, not herbs, not prayers. Then someone remembered. "The girl we chased away." A desperate messenger traveled deep into the forest. When he found Adaeze, he fell to his knees. "Our village is dying." For a long moment, Adaeze said nothing. The same people who had tried to burn her now begged for help. Then Chika stepped forward. "I never stopped believing in you," he said softly. Adaeze looked toward the distant hills where Umudara stood. Then she spoke quietly. "Take me home." When she arrived at the village, no one could meet her eyes. Chief Okafor lay weak on a mat. His voice trembled. "I was wrong." Adaeze knelt beside him. "I know." And she began to work. For days, she prepared medicine. She treated the sick one by one. Slowly, the fever began to disappear. Children recovered, farmers stood again, and the village lived. One evening, the chief asked her something quietly. "Why did you help us after everything we did?" Adaeze smiled gently. "Because healing people is who I am." Umudara changed after that. No one ever called Adaeze a witch again. Instead, they built a healing hut beside the village square. Travelers came from distant lands seeking her help, and every evening, children gathered around her as she told them stories about the forest. One day, Chika asked softly, "You could have left us to die." Adaeze looked toward the golden sunset. "My grandmother once told me a proverb," she said. "The tree that was once struck by lightning still gives shade." And the people of Umudara never forgot the lesson. Sometimes the person we fear the most is the one we need the most. And sometimes the greatest power in the world is forgiveness.